Good evening and welcome to the Bellefleur Tire Shop Grand Falls Greenfoot Rapids pregame show. It's hockey night in Grand Falls, which means it must be Friday. Hallelujah. The Miramichi Timberwolves are back in town to face off against the Rapids. Series currently a 2-1 lead, the season series for the Miramichi Timberwolves after a big win. Last time they faced each other, 5-2 win, which I'm sure a lot of you remember. But this is going to be a whole new game here. I'll give you a little bit of a look at the standings here in just a minute. But we're going to get right into the tail of the tape right off the bat. So the Rapids with a 12-6, 2-0 record, tied for first with the Chaleur Lightning. The Miramichi Timberwolves sitting in last place in the East Lake North Division, a 9-9, 0-1 record. Now leading the way for each team, Nathan Plemons-Michaud with 11 goals for the Rapids. Alexis Doucette, including the hat trick that he scored against the Rapids, with 13 goals on the season. Jacob Kane leading the way in assists with 13. Jonah Laird, the captain of the Grand Falls Rapids, leading the way with 16 assists. Overall, Alexis Doucette for the Timberwolves with 22 points, and a tie between Zachary Michaud and Jonah Laird with 24 points apiece for the lead in points overall on the team. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. The Timberwolves, in terms of their goals against and their goals for, are dead even at 65 apiece. The Rapids, on the other hand, I believe they have the second most goals for in the league at 88 goals for and 68 goals against. Now, I'm no genius in math, but I don't think it really takes one here. That is a plus 20 goal differential, and that's going to be a big deal if ever it comes down to a tie during the end of the regular season into the playoffs. But as of right now, it's a good stat to kind of pad your stats a little bit. So, special teams head-to-head, the Rapids with the third-ranked penalty kill in the East Lake North Division at 81.3%. The Timberwolves right behind them at 78% even. And then we go into the power play, which is 23.1% for the Rapids and 19.4% for the Timberwolves. So, with that said, there is a lot of information to get through here. I mentioned the standings race. Right now, there's only 7 points that separate first place, which is a tie between Grand Falls and Chaleur, with last place, which is Miramichi, like I mentioned. So that's, a real tight division race, and it's not quite as bad in the South Division, but it's still pretty hard. You look at the points. That is the equivalent of 3 wins plus an overtime loss to get back into first. That's all these teams have to do. Miramichi is no slouch. We've seen that. Season series suggests it. I mean, the Rapids, as part of that early dominant start to the season, I should say, was a 4-2 win on September 21st. October 11th, the Miramichi Timberwolves played again in their home barn, ended up winning that game 4-3 with the final goal coming in the last 5 minutes of the third period. And then, of course, you saw the Alexis Doucette hat trick game, which was last game, and the Miramichi Timberwolves ended up winning 5-2 in that game. So giving them the 2-1 series lead in the season series. This is going to be a big game for multiple reasons. First off, it's a division rival game. You always want to win those games, but also because this is a specialty jersey night. We just celebrated Remembrance Day on Tuesday, and it's a big thing for, I think, if you have somebody who in your family has served in the military or more or less, it's going to be a very tough kind of, it's going to be hard to believe, for lack of a better word, that you don't or you didn't have at least some relatives or friends that did serve in the military. Tonight is going to be a special jersey night honoring those veterans who have served. And though it may have passed Remembrance Day, this is a game, again, where we pay homage to our brave warriors who went out there and sacrificed everything so that we are able to be here in this building today and watching this game. So with that said, that's another big reason why this game is such an important one. There you go. You too. So, as you heard it from Jeff Cowan, assistant coach of the Grand Falls Rapids. All games are important, but this one I think is going to hit a little bit closer to home with a lot of the people in town here, especially with the heritage and the amount of people who have had family who have served in the military, whether it was modern day or whether it was first, second, the Korean War, Vietnam, anything like that. It's one of those moments where you really get to pay a special tribute to those who fought and sacrificed for us. I know myself, it doesn't just hit Remembrance Day. For me, it's the whole month of November. I always like to kind of pay tribute to those vets everywhere I go. Wear the poppy almost every single day in November, and that's just my personal preference. But it's going to be one of those things where the jerseys will be auctioned off after the game as well. So I'm excited to see what they look like. I haven't really seen them yet, as I'm sure a lot of you haven't, but it's going to be a real nice jersey, I have a feeling. And it's a really fitting tribute, I would say, to our brave warriors, like I mentioned. So with that said, we're going to jump into the keys to the game a little bit. For the Rapids, it's going to need to be a strong start and maintain the lead. Last weekend, they went 2-1 through their 3-game stretch. They ended up losing the game to the Yarmouth Mariners because they were in the penalty box too much. And, those undisciplined calls really ended up costing them in the end. But they, for the most part, were just a step behind. They, in that game, were able to come back and get it back. But, again, like I mentioned, those penalties ended up costing them the game. So start strong, play a full 60 minutes, score the first goal, and maintain that lead. Because especially in the game against both West Kent and the last game that the Rapids were at home, you saw that they were just kind of trading punches back and forth with Chaleur, and eventually the Lightning ended up winning it in overtime. We don't need to relive those memories, but, at the end of the day, it is what it is. So start strong, maintain the lead, do not let them fight back, and do not, for the love of God, take any more penalties. There have been so many games this season where just the discipline has cost them. And it's the little calls. It's not even ones that are necessarily, okay, well, that didn't really happen. It's just the dumb calls. That's all it was. So the second one is discipline. Just make sure that you are staying out of the box and goading them into taking the penalties, instead drawing penalties as opposed to taking them. And then the third key to the game for the Rapids, and this guy has been a thorn in their side all season long since they've played each other, Alexis Doucette. You need to contain him. If you let him break anywhere within that net, he's going to find a way to score on you. 5-on-5, power play, penalty kill, doesn't matter. He will find a way to score. So you need to find a way to neutralize him and make sure that you're doing a better job at making sure that Miramichi doesn't get those high-danger scoring chances. So as we've seen in the last 2 games that the Rapids played, when they ended up winning their 2 out of 3, they did a good job at shutting down a lot of those South Division teams. Now, yes, it was against Truro and against Valley, but nonetheless, they did a great job at making sure that they are tightened up and ready to go. So there is this game tonight, and then they hit the road tomorrow to play the West Kent Steamers in Bucktush as well. So the Steamers sit in 5th place. They're only 5 points behind the Rapids which, as we mentioned, are in 1st place. Their most recent matchup, like we mentioned, was an overtime win where West Kent ended up trading punches back and forth. It was kind of like that deja vu look to it. They ended up trading punches, and the Steamers ended up getting the better of them. So that was the most recent game between the two of them. It's going to be a back-to-back, which means, look, you've seen a triple header last weekend. Doesn't get much easier. They have a back-to-back again this weekend. The schedule from here on out does not get easier, but it just matters how you're going to tackle those games. Because you look at the amount of back-to-backs that they're going to have through the month of November. The first month, the first week of November was that triple header. Second week, it's another back-to-back. Third week, which is next week, it's going to be another triple header. And then they finally get a little bit of a break from having 2 games in a row. So I think the month of November is arguably going to be the toughest on their schedule, but it's nothing that they really can't handle. So with that said, it's going to be a tough road test because, like I said, they're on the road a day after. It's a back-to-back. And West Kent's a team that they've struggled a little bit with this season. So it's going to be all about getting that strong start again, making sure that you're shutting down their offense because they like to take advantage of those opportunities that you get at the neutral zone during the turnovers. Anytime that you get a penalty, they will find a way to score on the power play. Their power play is not as weak as it once was in the beginning of the season. So that's another thing to watch out. Noah LaRochelle is another one that they have to neutralize as well. I know that singling out players is just like, okay, well, there's a whole team. Yes, but there are players that make a difference. Alexis Doucet, Noah LaRochelle. Those are two big examples of players who have just dominated the Rapids on home ice in the last 2 games. It's going to be no different. You want to make sure that you're neutralizing them and making sure that they are not breaking anywhere near the net, that the defense is tightened up, and that they're doing everything that they can to prevent those high-danger scoring chances, because otherwise it's going to be a bad time. Now, the Rapids this season, they're 8-1-1 at home. Sorry, 8-2-1 at home, and they're 2-5-1-1 on the road. This is going to be very, very interesting. Sorry, I messed up that stat. 4-5-1-1 on the road. This is going to be interesting. And I'm looking forward to see how they fare tomorrow night, but this is an important game tonight. We're going to focus on that. In order for the Rapids to have a perfect weekend, a lot of things need to go their way, and I think that with the new energy that they have and a new player, we're going to talk about that next, it's going to be a lot of fun. So with that said, we're going to take you into the game, and we're going to show you a lot of real fun stuff, and it's going to be a hell of a night, I will tell you that. The starting lineup for the game, it has been released. So as you can see, the line combinations are rolling with 11-7. Patrick Baxter, Zachary Michaud, and Jonah Liren on that top line, the MVP line, as people have dubbed it. Derek Aslan, Loic Francoeur, and Nathan Plemondon Michaud, a line that has worked in the last couple of games. Oliver Plant, Braden Campbell, and Brody Paré, another one that has really started to click. And then you've got Tristan Richard and Declan Kennedy on the fourth line. Now you're probably wondering why they're rolling with 11-7, and there is a name for the defense that is missing, and that is Carter Bellamy. So there is going to be a name that you, I'm sure, will notice right off the bat on the defense. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But first, it's Matthias Cyr and Anton Topolnitsky on that defensive pairing. Jack Brown, Loic Gallant, and Julien Avignon-Bourque also in for the defense as well. Now, the name that you're probably looking at right now, and you're just, I'm sure, dying to know a little bit more about, is Nathan DeBroy. He was traded from the Truro Bearcats earlier this week as a result of a trade that sent future considerations, yes, the legend, to Truro in exchange for DeBroy. And he is a guy that I'm very excited about. After watching him play a little bit in Truro, I like his defensive style, and I like the fact that he's a guy who likes to get back in the back check. Really has been able to block a lot of good quality shots, and is a guy that you really want to have on the back end and potentially on the penalty kill if he gets there. But he's a guy who I think a lot of people are very, very excited about. And I, for one, when I heard that the trade broke earlier in the week, I was very, very excited. This is not something, especially with a guy who is 6 foot, this is not something that's very common, is a Rapids defense core, especially with guys that are mostly all over 6 foot. It's something exciting. They have the height. They've got the weight. They've got that defensive killer instinct. This team is starting to be set up for a huge success coming up into the last couple of months of 2025, and then going into the 2026 portion of the season, which is going to be full steam ahead from there. So, yes, Nathan DeBroy is here. He is in the lineup this evening, making his debut for the Grand Falls Rapids. I'm hoping that we're able to get to see him a decent bit. I know that I saw him last night. He seems to be very excited here to be in town, and we're very excited to have him. So, Nathan, welcome to Grand Falls, and welcome to the Grand Falls Rapids. Now, we got the big thing out of the way. It's time to go into the weekly segment that everybody's excited for, and that is the Rapids Heat Index. Now, this is another one. I had a little bit of a toss-up with choosing this one. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me present to you the Rapids Heat Index for this week. All right, so it was a little bit of a toss-up between two players here, but I decided to go with Loic Francoeur for this one. And he had a goal and 5 assists through 3 games, so that's a total of 6 points. But he was also able to play on the back end and as well as up front. We obviously saw it with Anton Topolnitsky missing a couple of games. He was able to step in and play that defensive role very fluently. He didn't look out of place at all. And with that prior experience, you obviously saw that because he did used to play defense when playing in the queue as well. So he has that prior experience. He was able to come in and be that playmaker, not just on forward, but on the defense as well. He blocked a good amount of shots, was able to do a lot on the penalty kill, and I think really just stood out, was one of the real breakout players. Now, I mentioned that it's not always just about getting the points in terms of getting your Heat Index Player of the Week. This was one of those things where it goes more than just the points. Yes, he was able to get six points on the week, but was able to also bring those intangible skills, playing both forward and defense in certain games, and able to get those situational needs back to his advantage. So with that said, I think it's really well-deserved for Loic Francoeur this week. Jonah Laird also making the East Lake North Team of the Week, which he had 2 goals and 5 assists, so 7 points between the two of them. Francoeur had 6 points and Laird had 7 points. Again, a really huge achievement, especially on a very successful road trip for this Grand Falls Rapids team. Now, with that said, I'm going to leave you off for this episode of the pregame show. I will be back here for the postgame show in the lobby. We're going to talk all things Rapids, give you a game recap. Maybe there might even be some special player post-game interviews as well. So stay tuned for the channel. Make sure you are subscribed. If you haven't already done so, hit that little bell notification and share out all of the videos for future content. This is going to be exciting, and I know you can make some noise. So ladies and gents, make some damn noise. We'll see you in the post-game show.